So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest HIIT workout. And this morning's topic will be digital customer journeys, amongst other things, because that doesn't really stand alone. So what are we going to cover today? Before I do that, I'll do a quick introduction. I know many of you would have heard this before, but this is pertinent today because I'm going to use an example from the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm Paul Innes. I run intensive marketing. I help big companies, corporates, starting left to right, startups and scale-ups, and I work with the University of Oxford Innovation Incubator. I also act as a trustee for a rare brain disease charity that impacts the elderly, which is the right-hand image. And in fact, to show that digital customer journeys can apply not just to new startups or big corporates, it can apply to third sector as well. And I think I'll use that as a good example. So today's workout, as always, follows the same structure, which is we deconstruct the model or the framework or the approach, and that's what we'll do. Of course, that always takes us to a little tangent, and our tangent today is journey metrics and the value ladder to bring all of that together. As always, we talk about where these models fit in the broader picture. So what informs it and what it informs. And as I've just mentioned, I will be reconstructing a digital customer journey with the example of a small charity. And as always, your questions and feedback. And if I could signpost to you that the Menti tool is open 24/91/55. If you go to that URL, type in those 6 numbers, it's literally 2 minutes to give me some feedback, which I think is a fair exchange for the 15 minutes free workout. Last thing is don't forget to use the chat. It's a great way of me picking up what you're thinking as we go through this, or indeed saving something up for the Q&A afterwards, which is always very, very useful. So let's get into it then. So customer journeys, they're nothing new. So customer journeys, everyone thinks that it's something that's happened since the advent of Salesforce.com or Eloqua or some of these other marketing automation tools. But the reality is customer journeys were there pre-digital when it was analog. And traditionally, these customer journeys, as you can see, there are a flavor of them on your screen at the moment, were actually focused a lot around the buyer behavior and their response to advertising. And actually, many of the traditional customer journeys were quite focused around the transaction. But as we've moved out of an analog world into a multi-channel or omni-channel or a blended online to offline world, these digital customer journeys can be quite complex. And personally, I prefer it when it's simple and not complex in terms of a model. The complexity comes from the business itself. So, yeah, thanks for the chat. Yeah, 1898, St. Elmo Lewis invented the AIDA model. Fantastic. It's amazing considering that AIDA is used in pretty much every marketing qualification and every business studies course that you have, and many of my friends also always use it in their day-to-day job. It's been around for a while. However, keeping it really, really simple, what we're trying to do with any customer journey is understand what they think about using a service or buying a product or engaging with you. The fact that they know that they want to do something about it, then we want them to do something about it. And then this for me is a really important thing. We want them to tell somebody about it. Now, telling someone could be 2 different sets of people. On the one hand, yes, it could be the younger influencer that's on TikTok reaching millions of people, but equally, it could be a well-respected business-to-business person doing a video case study. More importantly, in today's digital world, it's collaborative with the customer. You want the customers to tell you. That could be feedback in terms of how your service was, or indeed, how to improve your product. It's no surprise that TAL has come about, and things like net promoter score, or indeed things such as Trustpilots and all of those kind of review services are growing and growing and growing. So the other thing about this change of approach is the move from transaction to relationship. And so this is why I actually like a slightly different model, something called REAN, which stands for reach, engage, activate, and nurture. And that was built by a gentleman called Steve Jackson, a great book called The Cult of Analytics. And really, this was at the cusp of the move to the digital customer journey. And one of the key things I like about this model is that in today's world, digital metrics across the journey touchpoints are really, really vital and actually are game changers for businesses in lots of different ways. And I will talk about that as I carry on going through this. So just to bring the transaction and the relationship to life, obviously I took a shave this morning. Maybe 20 years ago, Procter & Gamble would have been promoting on the TV for me to buy their Gillette Mark III. However, more recently, I've been emailed by Harry's, who want to have a subscription relationship with me for £10 per month to give me the ultimate shaving experience. That's a really good example of something as simple as a razor has changed and moved from being analog to digital. Equally, Procter & Gamble have gone and bought Harry's. Moving on. So actually, many of you may know this as the funnel. So more and more, the use of the funnel has come in to explain how that customer journey operates, particularly from a marketing perspective and from a company performance perspective. So what I'd like to do is just explain the funnel and the words around it a little bit more. So firstly, what goes in the top of that funnel is targeted marketing investment. Those are your marketing pounds, euros, or dollars. Now, if you've not watched or you attended the HIIT Workout on segmentation cubes, I'll put a link to that because we talk about reaching a target audience. And that's vitally important, that you're not underreaching or indeed overreaching. And then if we look to the left-hand side and the right-hand side, these are really, really important things you can do in a digital customer journey. Firstly, on the left-hand side, you can measure the channel and content key performance indicators. And what do I mean by that? So if we're trying to reach somebody, we're probably advertising. So does LinkedIn work better than Facebook, for example? Or indeed, is this creative landing page better than that landing page, the A/B test? And so in reach, it's very much our paid and earned media, the content we put out for ourselves and the content we pay to be put out on our behalf. And then as we go through the engagement, it's our content that's important. What does that video look like? What does that case study look like? And then as we're going through, the activation stage could even be somebody follows your call to action. So for example, it could be that they've watched something or they've even bought something. And this is where the right-hand side and the conversion ratios come into play, because understanding what response you're getting from the previous activity, who engaged from the reach, who activated from the engagement is important. Then clearly you get to the nurture, and that's becoming more and more important as we want to build a relationship with the client over time. And again, the key measures we look for there is our customer acquisition cost and our customer lifetime value. And again, there's a HIIT workout available where I've explained how those things are calculated and used for different companies such as Netflix and Amazon. But the reality is, why is this important? It's important from a marketing effectiveness and in terms of understanding how satisfied your customers are. But it's also important if you are a startup or a scale up or indeed a corporate marketing department, knowing how much you put in the top is directly related to how much you think you might get out at the bottom. A startup may well get significant funding if they're able to demonstrate that they've got an optimum customer journey and they're getting the conversion ratios that they're looking to expect. And therefore, if people believe in them, they're more likely to give them the funds to go and grow and scale that business. However, the reality is that it's not just one customer journey. There are lots of micro journeys. And so if we take that REAN funnel, we can apply it in something we can call the value ladder. And the way this value ladder works is over time you have an improved relationship as they go up the value ladder, and actually across time you get increased value to the business. And there's lots of little touch points that happen along the way here, and some of them are analog and some of them are digital. And really you have to plan this and think about this in advance and work back from the end and start building out what this looks like. And that has driven this need for more and more marketing automation tools for those such as Pardo, Eloqua, Salesforce, ActiveCampaign. There's a whole range of them. And please do go look at them because they've got very, very good case studies. Let me give you a little case study. So in this period of maybe spending more time at home at the moment, we may be consuming wine at home rather than consuming wine in a wine bar. So let's look at a company such as Laithwaites. Now, Laithwaites it dates back over 40 years. It was a catalogue company, but it's migrated to a digital world. And typically, Laithwaites clearly wants an objective to have a higher customer value. And I've put something there like a target average bottle value of £8.34. But they would start with a free-ish offer, which is that classic £50 off your first case. I've bought a case, so they know about me. They're going to come back and give me the summer favourites for £5.99. And then because maybe I thought 1, 2, 3, maybe more cases, they think, okay, well, I can increase the value of the client and improve the relationship. I'm in a selected club where I've got the wine award winners for just £7.99. I'm a complete mug, aren't I? They're really pandering to my ego. And do you know what? They've actually offered me a really exclusive offer that I can pre-order next year's Chateau Reserve. Trust me, it'll be more than £7.99 a bottle. Trust me, I won't be getting them to their average bottle value of £8.34. But even so, I think the point I was trying to show here is that Laithwaites will have a target and they will have a plan, and that will be something that they measure and monitor throughout their micro customer journey. So as always, let's look at where this fits in the overall big picture. So as you can imagine, there's lots of things that inform your customer journey or your funnel, your objectives anyway as a business. The segmentation, as I've mentioned, who you reaching, are you resonating, what is your targeting strategy, and all of the analytics and customer churn. In some ways, this funnel is kind of self-perpetuating because what comes out the bottom helps you determine what goes in the top. Now, clearly, it informs your steps to scale. What is your marketing ROI, which is a key metric for many organizations these days? What is your acquisition cost and your advertising spend? How much are you going to put in the top? It also can give you an indicator to satisfaction level. If we think about the customers that are telling, that gives us an idea if they're telling us how well we've done, or indeed whether they're telling somebody else. So let me finish this off today with a real life example. And I showed it in a timeline. So we've got our reach, engage, activate, nurture. And as we well know that we may get people within our organization, we may well get them to activate, but getting them to reactivate or repurchase requires nurturing. So really what our aim is to try and reduce that churn gap and continue on that growth up that value ladder. At the bottom there, you've got some examples of content or omni-channel contents that you would put in there, lots of different touch points. And of course, you would be validating your channel content conversion metrics all the way through this towards the end to understand what your CAC and CLTV measures are. So I'm going to show you an example now for this small charity. This small charity has to engage with healthcare professionals. It's a rare brain disease. And in fact, less than 10,000 people in the UK live with this condition. And in fact, 40% of those people are misdiagnosed at the beginning. It's a challenge for those people living with the condition and a challenge for the healthcare industry. So how might we engage with them? So let's take our model here. First of all, we've got our first micro customer journey. This may be a LinkedIn paid advertising. We're using the resources of the charity to advertise in the right areas to reach that target audience, as we've spoken about. We want to get them to our microsite that may help them and offer them with some tips on diagnosis or awareness. And really, all we want them to do is to subscribe to an email. That's the end of that little micro journey, but it's a step along the way to a bigger, longer lasting relationship. So in order to get them to engage, we're going to hopefully get them to watch a YouTube video. And in that YouTube, there'll be that classic card that says, download this help sheet PDF. So again, we're keeping that activity going. We're delivering more content. We're enriching the relationship. So much so that we know that they've watched the video, so we will give them a webinar invite. And we want to get them along to a webinar just like this morning. Now we know that we've got to a webinar, but our real aim is to get these health professionals in a room talking health stuff to each other and sharing across a wider community. We want them to be our voice to the profession. So we really want to get them to the conference. So we're going to share our clinical research and show them more clinical research at a symposium. Yes, they'll pay, but they're only covering their lunch. We just want to make them advocates for the charity. And we want to bring them in and hopefully publish what a great set of findings and conference it was. And to make sure that they don't drop off the end, we're going to update them with the email. And do you know what? There's a few of them we want to help us determine our research strategy and make them feel special, and maybe take their great insights to develop clinical guides and help join our LinkedIn group, which goes all the way back to the beginning again, to take great content that can engage and reach new people in the healthcare industry. And in fact, this is the approach we're thinking about and trying to implement within the charity. So that's it for today. Just a quick shout out before we go to questions. Next workout will be on McKinsey 7S and the SWOT. And I'm going to do this in the context of a scale up business. This isn't all about big corporate stuff. You can contact me on my email address, and you can go to the website and see all the range of stuff that we do. One last thing, please give me your feedback. Love to hear about it. See what worked, what didn't work, and more importantly, any ideas on other models or themes for future workouts. It's much better when you give the customer what they want than what you think. Okay, I'm just going to pause it there and